Hey, um, so this is like the third or fourth time I've recorded this game because I'm trying out some new recording software, and I can't seem to get it to work.
Additional supply depots
So I'm going back to Fraps, baby, for this one. So yeah, this will work. The advantage of the new software is that Fraps records an uncompressed video, so you have to compress it as a second step, and the FFD show is the other. No, not FFD show. Anyway, the other one compresses it as it's being recorded, so that's cooler. I would save myself a step, but it's not worth the effort. I can't get the stupid thing to work. So this pressure from you is really good, even though it looks really bad. This guy's name is NPC. That's funny. Because he mops the floor with you on this stuff, but you manage to have the engagement happen just before metabolic boost or ling speed finishes, and that's because you scouted early and you saw that he didn't have an early gas, so you knew that you had until 6 minutes to come in and do pressure. You've also seen that he made a bunch of lings and 2 sunkens or spine crawlers, so that puts you way far ahead of him. Right, because you're going for a quick expansion to match his quick expansion, but you also get mules, and he forced him to build some zerglings, so it's all going to work out well. Also, that early pressure gave you the time you needed to throw up these bunkers and get some marines back here to defend, so it's all going quite well for you. I've mentioned in the pregame as well as in some emails to you that one of the biggest problems you have is queuing up workers. Just like to touch on that again just for a second. If you see there's no workers being built here, and you're clearly looking at your base. You just transferred workers from one base to another, and yet there's still no workers being built. You're alternating between 1 worker and 0 workers, 1 worker and 0 workers. Right now there's 0, now there's 1, now there's 1, now there's 0, now there's 1. So that's the reason that your worker saturation is low. And I've said this to you before, and I'll say it again. I really want you to spend the $200 per command center that it costs to just queue up 1, 2, 3 workers so that it's always up to 3, and then try to keep it always at 3 and always at 3. And that way, if you screw up and accidentally miss a little bit, then it'll go down to 2, and it will cost you nothing because there's still actually a worker being built if it goes down to 2. And maybe if you screw up a ton, then it'll go all the way down to 1. But you'll never miss any workers being produced if you keep it up to 3 all the time. And you might be thinking that if I queue up to 3, then that costs me $100 here and $100 at this command center too. And that's $200 I could have used to throw down another racks or to build 4 marines, and so it's cutting into my army production size. But an SCV produces 40 minerals per minute, and as you can see even at 6 minutes, let's go all the way back to 6 minutes. At 6 minutes, you have 20 SCVs, and you would have 24.9, maybe almost 25, if you produced SCVs constantly, if you had 3 of them queued up. So that means you would have committed $100 to making sure you always have SCVs queued. So you would have $100 less to spend on your other crap. But you would also have 4 more SCVs, maybe 3 more. I think you lost one. So 3 more SCVs are going to mine you 40 times 3 is 120 minerals per minute. So after 1 minute, you will have made up more than as much money as you're spending by having those guys queued up. So it's a fallacy when people say not to queue stuff up. What they mean is don't queue up Thors, don't queue up Marauders, don't queue up Banshees, don't queue up Medevacs. They do not mean don't queue up SCVs. You will see if you download Pro Terran replays, you will see that they all queue up SCVs at some point or another during the game. Not often, I mean, because they're better than us at keeping up with this stuff, but they do. Like, for example, when Jinro micros Banshees back here, or when somebody knows that they're going to do a drop right now or whatever, they always queue stuff up. It's worth doing. It's important. You got to do it. You can't think that you're the only perfect macro Terran in the entire world. You asked in a recent email, how can I remember to queue up SCVs? You do not have a problem remembering SCVs. If you watch this base, it's only 0 for a second, and it's only 0 for a second, and it's only 0 for a second. You're remembering to queue up SCVs often enough. Well, I guess in this one case you're not. But yeah, that was only like 30 seconds where you missed, and 1 second where you missed, 1 second where you missed. The problem is that you don't have a buffer. So when you miss it for 30 seconds, that's costing you SCVs. If you had 3 guys queued up, then missing for 30 seconds would mean you missed no SCVs. You would still have an SCV building. So you do not have a problem remembering to do it. You have a problem not queuing them up. That is your only problem with SCV production. So because of your lackluster SCV production, your income at this point in the game is 47 workers to his 56, so the Zerg actually has a bigger income than you, but you would have a much bigger income than him if you had enough workers. Now the second thing to worry about is that you didn't start a command center early enough. You need to start your third command center at 13 minutes, sometimes earlier. There are certain maps like Sunken Temple where you have a protected third with destructible rocks protecting it. And on maps like that, I really want you to see you build your third at like 10 minutes or something, really early, and just get it out there with a couple turrets. Because the sooner you get your third up, like if you were this Zerg guy and you had 77 units, I think at this point in the game you should have 72 units. Probably, I think at 13 minutes you should have 72 units. 72 workers. So at 13 minutes, if you had 72 workers on 2 bases, then you wouldn't be able to fit them all, you know? Sorry. So yeah, 16 patches, 72 workers, it just wouldn't work out. So you need your third pretty early. Obviously on a map like this where you have an unprotected third that you can't secure safely, send a couple of Marines out early to make sure there's no overlords or burrowed Zerglings over at your third location, and just keep these locations clear with one Marine or 2 Marines. Wait for 2-2 to finish, but have your command center ready and floating. So your command center should be floating in the air right here, and then as soon as 2-2 finishes, it's going to be done soon. Now is time to push out. Now, obviously you know this, and that's why you push out at this time, but what you're doing is pushing out at this time and starting your command center, and I want it to already be built before you go. Also, another big complaint I have, along the same vein as keeping SCVs queued up, is Marines. Marines have a 25-second build time, so while other units like Marauders and Medivacs and Tanks and Thors and Banshees have a full minute on their queue time, or 45 seconds or something on their queue time. Marines' queue time is so small that queuing up Marines is pretty much required, because unless you can remember to macro every 25 seconds, you're gonna miss some Marine queues. So anytime you have a base or a building like a barracks and it's not doing anything, especially if you're throwing down more racks, like, you didn't need these racks. You could have gotten more Marines out of the 3 racks you already had than you're going to get from having 5 racks that are at 50% capacity, right? 3 racks at full capacity is much better than 5 racks at half capacity. I think what you're doing here is trying to work your way up to 6 racks and then 8 racks, because that's what the Uber Ups build is. But the only reason that I say that the Uber Ups is to get 7 or 8 racks is because the income that I have off of 3 bases with 72 workers at 13 or 14 minutes can support 8 racks. Your income right now can't support 8 racks. Your money is you're able to get your money low with the racks that you have. So building more racks when you're already able to spend all your money, not really necessary. Obviously, I would prefer the solution of getting more income and then still making the same number of racks. But if you're going to have a low income, I don't want to see this many racks. You shouldn't ever have unused racks. This is a lot of money spent on racks that's just kind of wasted because you can't afford to produce out of them. So either get more money or get fewer racks. But I don't like this. Also, you're delaying your first attack too long. 1-1 is already done. Combat shields is already done. You've got some medevacs out. I guess you waited for combat shields to go, but it's 16 minutes. That's a little bit late. I'd really like to see you push out at 15 or 14. The way you pushed out was bad too. First of all, I'd like to see you push out to here and just defend this, because okay, well, let me state that a little better. I would have liked to see you push out to here at 13 or 14